Entonces ya casi tenemos la sombra.
Tengo frío.
Es frío.
Fíjate que ahora no me recuerdo si es gris o negro. Pero no ahora que tú dijiste.
Ya. Gracias, ya. Rosita.
Si no pude
We're
regresar.
going to start the meeting.
Mira.
Special Commission meeting. Monday, April 16, 2018 at 8:05 p.m. Commission Chamber, 500 Southwest, 109th Avenue. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Clerk will note the absence of Commissioners Borrero, Diaz, and Holtz Alonso.
Okay, let's stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner, please. Commissioners, can you please come?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Aquí viene el comitejano. I'm sorry.
Sir, are you coming? He's coming? Oh, he's gonna stay there.
For the invocation.
Invocation? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do invocation, let's do it briefly. Dear God, help us to make the right decision for the benefit of our city. Bless our armed forces, law enforcement, firefighters, and all the residents of this city, and also all the people that are present here tonight. In your holy name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Do you have any public comments?
None.
Mayor.
Sir, please.
Hace falta petacilla. Una cosa atrás.
Yes, will you please sit? We
Es
need to move on with the meeting, please. Okay, number 5, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Sweetwater, Florida, approving the expenditure not to exceed $38,000 for the purchase of 2 mobile license plate recognition system, and provided an effective date, Mayor Lopez.
Okay, this expenditure would be to buy 2 LPR systems, which are license plate recognition systems from police forfeiture accounts. The urgency of this meeting that couldn't wait until the regular May Commission meeting is that we have approximately $36,000 in police forfeiture monies that if we do not spend it before May 1st, we lose them. We have to return them to the developer that paid these fees 5 years ago. So at this time, I'm asking for approval to be able to spend a little shy of $38,000 from police impact fees to be able to buy 2 LPR systems.
Move.
Okay, anybody has a question?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, we have a vendor from Major Police Supply. Did we do a bidding process or?
No, sir, that is actually the federal, we are piggybacking off the federal contract. That is something that the federal government, rather than going with state contract, this contract price is actually like 5% less than the state contract. So we're piggybacking. If you look at the price, it actually shows on the first page, if I believe, the price or the actually contract number for the federal government, the federal GSA number.
So this is roughly a $14,000 system.
14 and change plus $450 to install.
And then there's another $1,800 for the vigilant system. For the host is another $1,100. So you just have add-ons as far as
what was absolutely mandatory. Because what they do is when they quote the system starts at roughly $13,000, or $12,000 and change. And then they tell you, these are all the optional packages you can get totaling to about $23,000. There's a lot of the packages that we don't need. So we stripped it down to the bare bones, what we absolutely need to be able to get LPRs working in the street.
Yeah, and I agree, and I do agree that we do need LPRs. We have LPRs in our sister city, but I don't believe they have them on vehicles as of yet. I think maybe one. But in speaking to the chief today briefly, and I'm in support of this item, I'm just right now just trying to vet this. I asked the chief, why didn't we lease instead of us purchasing, he did give me a response, but if you could explain that a little more.
I have to expend the money before May 1st.
But what does that have to do with lease? Like, why don't we lease it?
I can't lease it. I have to spend the entire amount of money before. I have to spend a minimum of $36,000 before May 1st.
Okay, so it's not, okay.
Otherwise, it would have been, if I didn't have to purchase the money and spend it, we could have actually added this lease into the other lease that we financed it, but not in these cases. In these cases, you have to spend the money before the 5 years, and right now we've got a window where we've got $36,000 and change. I don't remember if DMO put the amount, the dollar amount that we need to spend, but we have to spend it before May 1st.
Right.
If we don't spend it before May 1st, we have to give the money back to the developer.
No, I'm aware of that. But if we lease, obviously it's going to cost us a lot less. And now with the money that we have left, we can actually hire another part-time policeman.
No, you can't hire police officers with impact fees.
Okay, so I'm going to second the motion.
1,000%.
Commissioner.
No.
All right, I'll go ahead and support this item, and I'll send you some literature to say that just for future reference. So
Okay.
with that, I yield the floor.
Go ahead, sir.
Just one quick comment, that the LPRs that are you know, the purchase of the proposed LPRs is an enhancement to police services. So the use of impact fees is appropriate for this resolution.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
Commissioner Duazo,
Yes.
Commissioner Barreto,
Yes.
President Yanio.
Yes.
Okay, passes.
An ordinance of the City of Sweetwater Commission amending Chapter 2nd, Article 6 of the Code of City of Sweetwater, Florida, entitled Finance More, particularly by amending Section 2-227 containing a severability clause and providing an effective date, first reading, and public hearing.
This is what we had discussed.
I'm going to open the public
Okay.
hearing first. Anybody have to say anything about this item? Please go forward. Okay, so I'm closing. Sir, go ahead.
As I was stating, this ordinance was discussed approximately a month and change ago, where we changed the charter of the city to allow my authorization for purchasing from $1,000 to, originally was drafted to for $3,500. After I had communication with Commissioner Duazo, he had asked me to change it to $5,000 rather than the $3,500. This would prevent the necessity of having to come to commission meetings constantly for approval for things of $3,500, sorry, for anything under $1,000, and changing it to $5,000. At this moment, I really don't mind if it's changed to $3,500, $5,000, just giving a little bit more leeway, because otherwise it really ties my hands with the purchasing ability and constantly having to come to commission meetings.
Mr. Mayor, question, may I?
Go ahead.
4 years before, how much you have?
Previously, the ordinance used to read $3,500. The mayor had the authority to spend $3,500.
35.
$3,500, correct.
I moved 35.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I completely agree with you. My conundrum is that in 2014, when you were the commission president and Jose M. Diaz was the acting or interim mayor, you're the one that implemented this ordinance.
Correct.
So when you were commission president, you limited his administration, where I was chief of staff, to $1,000, and now that you're the mayor, you want to lift the very same ordinance that you implemented or presented as a piece of legislation, because you see the difficulty that it presents when the legislative body limits your spending ability.
Correct.
So what would be your explanation to that?
In 2014, when I asked to change it, was it 14? Yeah, it was 14. It was because then interim mayor Jose Diaz was actually using a lot of city funds for political reasons. He was using it to circumvent the process to be able to host parties for the elderly, party at different places and stuff, and not strict core government functions. You can attest as well as every single commissioner on this dais that I've never done that. I do a very diligent process of trying to vet every single purchase. The problem is that the $1,000 ordinance just limits everything. In the last meeting, we actually had to purchase some chairs for a passport office, which costs roughly, I believe, $2,500 plus shipping. We had to wait all this period of time to be able to come to commission. And in the last meeting, actually, there was the issue that we had, that really isn't really a problem because we can always be done after the fact as an emergency ordinance. In arrears, we had to purchase an air conditioner for the police department, and that was about $5,000.
Thank you, sir. I yield the floor.
Anybody else has a question?
Move to 5.
I believe Commissioner Duaso moves to amend the item to 3,500.
Okay.
Anybody else? You don't, sir?
I yield, ma'am.
Okay. I didn't hear you. That's why
That's right.
I asked.
I don't have a second.
You have any questions?
So you have a motion, I believe you need a second, Madam President.
I don't think. Sorry, we don't have no second, the motion dies. Okay, now we have, oh, I'm sorry. Motion to adjourn,
Move. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Now we're gonna go with the, workshop.
You have to read the title of the workshop, or?
Do I have
It's
to read the
8:15
whole thing?
already. It's 8:15.
Yeah, it's 8:15, yeah,
public
8:16
hearing.
already.
Put it here.
Do we open the, I don't have to go through the whole process of roll call or anything like it, it's already.
No, it's a workshop.
So you just read the title of the workshop and read the title.
And we can,
And we can continue.
The only thing I have to do is set, public notice to Water Commission will hold,
Read the title.
May I?
hold on, will hold a workshop to discuss the current status of futures, waste hauling services in the city. The workshop is scheduled for 8:15 p.m. on Monday, April 16, 2018, and will be held in the Commission Chamber at the City Hall, 500 Southwest 109th Avenue, Sweetwater, Florida.
May I?
Okay.
Mayor, I received many complaints company this moment.
That's what
In
we're
my
doing this.
opinion, for many years in my city, I need another company.
Okay, that's
Because
exactly
it's
what
not
this
good.
meeting is
It's
about.
over here.
Okay.
No good.
And
It's my opinion. Another one.
to try to give you, the commissioners, a relative time frame as things happened, the commission asked for the waste hauling services to be policed for ITB. We dissected the contract. It is our interpretation of the contract that the contract expired sometime in December of 2017. A month or two before that, we sent a letter on behalf of the city explaining to Waste Pro Services that we were no longer going to renew the contract. The contract, as we vetted it, was a 6-year contract with 2 optional OTRs, theoretically making a 10-year contract in total if we chose to renew the contract, which we sent them sufficient notice that we were not going to renew the contract. At that time, Waste Pro's position was that they had a contract. We discussed this for several months, through March, let's say. Sometime on May 3rd, we received the letter that was provided to all you commissioners, where basically Waste Pro says, we disagree with your standing in the contract, we will honor it, we will go on a month-to-month contract, but we will increase the services $7.50 a month, which is roughly $90 a year. If you equate that to dollars and cents, it is a 22.6% increase that Waste Pro is claiming that they wish to increase their service rate at this moment. Personally, I don't think that it's valid, but that's not necessarily to discuss at this moment. What I would like to discuss at this time is we have basically 2 options. We have been preparing, and we have, and I think that we can call Robert forward, we probably have about the publication for an ITB contract, an invitation to bid from different waste hauler companies. We have it about 90% ready. It just needs some minor tweaking, and we can probably advertise it, have a series of workshops, and try to get to a final product on a contract. That is choice number 1 if we want to continue with a private waste hauler. Choice number 2 would be to go back to county services. If we go back to county services, the city non-ad valorem taxes on the garbage right now are $400 a year. The county charges $464 a year, but then we would still have to incur the bulk waste pickup. So right now, what I really want is guidance from the city commission. Do we proceed forward with trying to return back to county services and we do the bulk waste pickup? Or do we try to save some money and put the process out for an ITB process and try to select another private waste hauler to save a little bit of money?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I have big experience in my city. I need 3 different big. It's not you.
It's not 3. You'll
Different bid.
probably get 7 or 8.
This bid is called close, right? For this decision final is called commissioner.
Correct.
Right? But 3 different bid.
No, you'll get more.
Maybe you come on it's okay.
You'll probably get 5 or 6 different waste haulers. That's not a problem. What I want is guidance from the commission. Do we seek a private waste hauler, or do we go back to county services?
Okay, my opinion is we seek for a private. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, and what I'd like is,
I don't know, maybe
basically
the
take a straw
commission
poll
have to have
so we know where we're at.
For the
Because,
private, that's my opinion.
See.
That I want it to private, he can seek into private.
yeah, and you save a little bit of money on going to
Exactly.
private. And we have several members from the waste hauling business here. A proper and well-vetted ITV process,
May I?
would I be correct to say, Jason, that it'll take the better part of 6, 7, 8 months with workshops and everything?
Yeah, and if you want new trucks,
Another 6?
at least
So we're,
6 months for new trucks.
yeah. So if an ITV process is 6, 7, or 8 months, you sign a, let's say, 5, 6-year engagement with somebody so they provide new equipment, that would be another 6 months. So that would mean that we'd continue with the same problem for almost a year and a half.
Sure.
But I'm not saying that going back to the county services would be any faster, because I believe that if we contact the county previous to October 1st, so that they increase the non-ad valorem to county fees, I don't believe that they can adopt us for another year after that.
Through the
Go
chair.
ahead.
I'm of the opinion that I would like to explore our own waste hauling services, where our city is hauling its own waste. I believe that it will be the most efficient. Your administration can control it. I think every elected official here in the city is sick and tired of listening to complaints from our waste services provider. The current contract from Waste Pro, now they're offering, it's actually a 30% increase because they understand that we don't have waste services. The original contract at $25.68 a month is not only unrealistic, in my experience in waste, and the gentleman and the lady that are in the audience, I'd like for you guys to come up. I don't know who you guys are. And have you ever quoted such a low bill rate at $25.68 a month per house, when it's normally the county services are $64 a month? If we were to perform a study, and I would definitely approve for your administration, Mr. Mayor, to perform a study, not only of fiscal impact, but feasibility and efficiency, where we can have one truck and several employees hauling, and we can pick up. I'm sure it'll be very efficient. And if we need a secondary truck, as far as if one breaks down or whatnot, I know you're going to have a repair and maintenance budget, but I think that may be the most efficient. So I'd like my colleagues to entertain not only having in-house, but if that's not feasible, then having a professional vendor other than Waste Pro. I want to blacklist Waste Pro. I don't know how my colleagues feel, but I never want Waste Pro ever again. With that, I yield.
Just to clarify something you said, Commissioner, you're saying that the county services are $64 a month, they're actually $38 a month. A county non-ad valorem charge for waste is $464 a month. A year. You divide it by 12, it's $38 a month.
Okay, so county's 38, and right now we're being charged $25.68.
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you're actually correct.
And that's actually, inaccurate. They're putting there that they're charging $308, where their actual fees are somewhere in the $360 range.
Yeah, well, now they're increasing to $33.18.
per month per home.
Well,
Previously it was
I would actually
$25.68.
prefer to hold them to the letter of the law in the letter, because if they propose to do the waste hauling services for 33.18, that, again, I'm telling you that, I don't believe that this letter is legally sufficient, but,
I
sorry.
don't agree with it either, because we don't have to do it. It's out of contract. Now what they're saying is that they'll agree to continue at a $7.50 increase per month per house.
Right.
So I want to explore both options. I want to explore having an in-house and other vendors.
Yes, Madam President, I think that we have to explore in both ways, in the house and outside.
I think
that would be
a
best
truck
practice.
is too much money. Jason, do you mind if I ask you to come to the podium? I hate to put you kind of on the limelight, but do you have any idea how much one of these rear loaders is worth when you buy brand new?
Between $300,000 and $400,000 each.
Okay.
And it's the smaller the city, the more expensive it is to maintain and purchase the trucks and things like that. I'm not saying it's impossible, it can be done. There are small cities who handle their own work. The county is a viable option. The county does provide a very high level of service. They took over for Opelika last year when Opelika had some challenges.
You can grab the microphone.
Micro?
Yeah, thanks.
Real
We
video.
just want our viewers to listen.
Yes. By the way, Jason Neal, I'm with Waste Management, Inc. of Florida. The county does provide a high level of service, and it does include bulky waste collection, 2 pickups a year, as well as access to the T&R centers, trash and recycling centers, that residents can utilize all year round. I do not work for the county, so I'm not pitching their services. I receive their services where I live, and it is a high level. The city could choose to do it on your own. Whether or not that's cost effective, you'll have to vet that out. I suspect it will not be.
I wouldn't think so.
That's an educated guess just by the size of the community here. If you choose to go to the market for a solicitation, I would suggest an RFP rather than ITB. If you do an ITB, you're looking at low price wins no matter what. And from what I've heard here, that's probably not what you're looking for. You probably need to weigh your qualifications, experience, resources, green initiatives, and other things other than just low bid wins. So that would be my suggestion if you're going to go to market, is do an RFP. It does take 6-7 months to get a new garbage truck. If you're going to start over again, I would suggest starting with new garbage trucks. You don't want to start with old trucks here, because that could be a source of another headache. So from that timeline, contract award, figure 7 months. So back up however long it takes you to issue an RFP. If you have one ready to go, that's great. If not, there are consultants who specialize in this very thing, who work all over the state, and they do this for a living, so they could certainly guide you through that process.
Yeah, is Robert back there in the audio room? Oh, Robert's right here, sorry. No. Robert actually was looking at a contract from somewhere in North Florida, which was probably the simplest and most non-convoluted RFP. And that's the one that we basically had about at 90% till. So what we were thinking that the worst case scenario, if the outcome out of this is to publish the RFP, then we'll have at least one workshop, so obviously we can have input from the waste haulers on what has to be changed. We're basically pitting you guys against each other so we can try to come up with the best product on this contract. Correct? Where was the RFP from?
Absolutely. I believe it's the city of Williston, Florida. It was the closest size that I could find and the most germane to our city's needs. And as Mr. Neal stated, it is a hybrid RFP. It, of course, certainly takes into account experience. It's a very balanced
Correct.
Scale. At any rate, I do also, I concur that we should hold an industry-wide conference so everybody who specializes in that can opine.
Thank you, Jason. I apologize for putting you on the spot, but I know you're the garbage expert.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
My question is to the mayor. How many households do we have in our city? Is that roughly like 8,000?
I believe we service 5,000.
Around just about
So 5,000?
1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause you have a lot more, but they have commercial garbage.
Right. So at the current rate, at $25.68, obviously we know it's not realistic. Times 12 is like $308 a month, times 5,000 is 1.5 million. And our current ad valorem based on garbage is roughly that, right, Mr. Mayor? More or less?
The non-ad valorem on the garbage is $400 a year.
No, I'm talking about revenue.
There is a slight amount of revenue over what we are currently paying Waste Pro at the moment. If these rates come in, we are actually losing money for a period of time.
All right, so I don't know anything about the garbage business. I just went on Google right now. 2019 Western Star 4700 SB rear loader, and I only put that word rear loader because I heard it's $165,000. Whatever repair and maintenance, whatever it is, I think it's a viable option for us to look at having in-house. I don't have a problem having a vendor. I just want to make an informed decision. And so that would be my request. So I am respectfully requesting a motion for consideration to look at both options, both in-house on purchasing or leasing a truck and manpower, and also vendor options. So that is my motion to my colleagues.
So, Chair, if I may?
Go ahead.
We can explore both options because
No.
even if we start the RFP process, we don't necessarily have to award it to anybody. And before the awarding process, the commission can't say, because then we have sufficient time to explore the equipment. But as Jason was saying, I don't personally think it's going to be viable for us to buy the equipment and
I
service
have a
ourselves.
question, Mayor. I know right now the bulk is being picked up twice a week.
No,
Right,
once
it's
a
gonna-
week.
2 times a week.
Once a week.
Is it once?
Once a week on Mondays.
Yeah, each side
Oh,
of the
that's right. It used to be twice. That's right. So
No, it was always once a week.
Always once a
It's always
week?
been once a week. What was done years and years and years ago, one side of the city was on Monday, one side of the city was on Wednesday, which just created a huge confusion because you didn't know really when to pick it up. Then the bulk waste got changed to Wednesday, and the residents weren't notified. Then it was changed back to Mondays, and the residents weren't notified. That's what's always created the confusion, but the bulk waste pickup is once a week.
Yeah.
The only way that you can really fix the problem with the bulk waste in this city is to change it, like other municipalities have to, once a month. If you keep it at every week, you're always gonna have garbage out. You never fix the garbage problem
Can
in
you
the city.
imagine if we do it once a month? Right now, we live in a garbage city. Because they picked, on my house, they picked it on Monday. And on Tuesday, if you go through the city, you're gonna see all over people are putting out again.
The problem you're gonna have,
I don't know how can we control that, sir, because
and
it's,
I'll explain to you how you control it. Other municipalities, because I've discussed it with different municipalities, that they have weekly pickup. They change it to monthly pickup. When you have a weekly pickup, what you have is that you have all the gardeners in the area know that we pick up weekly, and they come and they dump here in the city. The moment that you change it to monthly, they can't dump here in the city anymore. So that person that allows their friend, the landscaper, to dump in front of their house, yeah, dump it in front of my house because I don't mind, they pick up weekly, that stops. And now you have to control the garbage to once a month. You'll have it a lot cleaner because people aren't putting things out everywhere. You know, just think about everybody that lives in the county right now. You only have 2 pickups
I
a
know.
year. Everything else, put it in your green can, and you manage. You know, here when it's really the city that faulted and the city created the problem, because by allowing weekly pickups, we created that problem where we're allowing people from the outside to come and dump here.
because, you know, I'm pretty sure that all the commissioners here have been called sometime asking the police, look what we have right here, you know, right on the corner. And have been taking pictures, and yeah, Ima can tell you, it's sometimes nothing we can do.
It's
Sometimes
crazy. It's crazy.
it's out of control. I have been seeing, you know, furniture everywhere,
Right.
and they complain because it's not fair that you put your, you know, your garbage on the time that you're supposed to, on the next day.
And they're putting
On
it
the
out
block,
every day.
it's gonna be
Yeah, right
all
now,
over
it's created an
furniture.
issue where we have code enforcement going out Monday at the end of the day, first thing Tuesday, and then Friday. So they're looking at who put out their garbage on time. If anybody put it out on Tuesday, we know who put it out on Tuesday. And then we send them notices, and then I'm having code enforcement go out on Friday again and start sweeping again, because then on Friday is normally the person that's coming from the outside and dumping. That's creating a problem, and my advice, the only way that we can fix this is going to a monthly pickup.
Monthly.
And it's better for the waste haulers, better for the contract, and it's the only way of curing the city.
Okay.
If you cannot suffice with dumping once a month, you have a problem.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
I don't know what the procedures are as far as making motions in a workshop. I don't think motions really count. I think at this point, we're just open dialogue.
but I stand behind my original statement only because we're looking at the best viable option. The mayor's option may be the best option, but until I see it on paper, until I see a fiscal impact, until I see, as far as efficiency is concerned, our employees are going to be the most efficient on doing any type of service because we control our employees. Now, it would be great to have our employees with a truck, because if and when we have an issue, and I understand what the mayor is saying, in theory, having both pick up once a month, in theory, would be cleaner. I disagree. I think that there are those residents that are opportunists, especially residents that like to dump along 113th Avenue between Flagler and 2nd Street on that 100 block. That is a dump site. And we've had code enforcement initiate several investigations and try and create enforcement there to no avail. So if we do have this in-house service, we can go ahead and pick up citywide. I think it'll be more efficient. I'm sure, looking at these numbers in my head theoretically, I think it'll be more cost effective. So that's what I would recommend. I think that would be the most efficient and fiscally responsible thing that we can do.
Mayor, maybe possibly, I don't know. I live in condominium, and 2 different times I live 46 years, and 2 different times I president the association. In this moment, director. My association es maravilla. Bien. Es posible. New company es posible. Es cuestión. Because in condominium.
I don't believe so. This is something that I've discussed several times with the attorney, and right now, the waste haulers pick up from people that pay that non-ad valorem fees. In the cases of the condominiums, they do not pay the non-ad valorem fees. Mm-hmm. They would, in the contrary, have to contact their private waste hauler, their person that services them, and they would have to put a section where they do it. To force a private hauler to service an area that they're not being paid for, we cannot do. You know, this is a conversation that I've had with the city attorney several times. The city cannot force a private hauler to service private condominiums that have not paid them to service them.
And at the same time, the city cannot utilize its own resources for those property owners that do not pay those non-ad valorem assessments. It will be unlawful to do so.
But maybe in this company, I say the cost $100 for becoming condominium. I say for the city, $30 for condominium. Is possible?
We cannot impose that non-ad valorem fees on condos. What the condo has to do individually is contact their private hauler, whoever services them now,
and contract with them,
their contractor.
Only say.
Yeah,
Madam President, to Commissioner Villanueva's question, you are correct in the sense that because this is a workshop, the Commission cannot take really votes on action items. However, you've had the dialogue that the workshop, the mayor was calling for that, but the mayor has heard the comments. You can have straw votes if you so would like. But the only thing you have as far as an action item, I believe, is it's the Commission's resolution going back to, I believe, August or September, directing the mayor to basically go out and put this out in the market. This new dialogue obviously gives the mayor, I guess, a sense of what the Commission would like to see, but you couldn't have any votes on action items in the workshop.
Thank you. Through the chair.
Okay.
He
asked it first. Hold on.
I'm sorry?
Commissioner wants to ask me first.
In this moment, this contract is very important, very clear. No recommendation, do as say, fulano say, no. Good price, good company.
Correct. Once the RFP goes out, the company will be vetted for price and service. Primarily service to make sure that you contact other municipalities that they service to make sure that they're doing an outstanding job, not a reasonable job, not an okay job, but an outstanding job. So we don't fall back into the situation that we have right now.
Let me question Mayor. I know. Maybe it's possible, no. This new company, known for the girl, sometimes all the company follow their way.
Commissioner, I wouldn't even know where any of the waste hauling companies are.
Yeah, I know, but between the city, this company understand my city.
I wouldn't know the proximity of any waste hauler. You know, I know that when you're saying that,
That's okay, Mayor.
I know the current waste haulers in Hollywood, but I don't know where any of the other waste haulers are.
Only question, Mayor.
Mr. Chair?
Okay, go ahead.
Just to educate my colleagues and the mayor, whenever we do waste, whenever any company does waste services in the city of Sweetwater, just like a tow company, they have to go through a background process with our criminal investigative section. When I was in charge of our criminal investigative section, we did backgrounds on every single waste vendor in the city of Sweetwater. So they're all over the place. They're here in Miami-Dade County and Broward, but mainly here. But I'd like a straw vote on my recommendation to have both in-house and search for an outside vendor. Madam President,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'm listening.
I'd like a straw vote, ma'am.
Okay, before I want to say something, then you can do the straw. Mayor, basically, we're going to have another workshop where you're going to bring it to us, different companies and different options.
No, we will publish the RFP. Once we publish the RFP, so we get whatever waste hauling companies are interested, we will hold an industry workshop so that if there's anything that we missed should be removed from the contract at that point in time, we will make amendments to the RFP or addendums to the RFP. Normally what ends up happening in these things is that you end up having to put addendums in the RFP. So then at that point in time, whatever addendums you decide to add to the RFP process, we will send it out to all those that are interested in the process again. They're given 21 days, 30 days to reply again. So that's why that's why I'm trying to explain to the Commission that the process will normally take about 6 months. Between the time that you publish the RFP, you give somebody sufficient time to bid on it, and before you bid on it, you actually have a workshop. Once you have a workshop and you create an addendum, you'll possibly have another workshop. I know that last time we approached this was years and years and years ago, and we actually, Jason, I think we had a series of 3 or 4 workshops, and it just proved too tedious to do it. It was something that's similar to this but different, but this time we're in a situation that we actually have to do this. So we will start a process of workshops where we start meeting with the waste haulers, and let's say like right now we have 2 waste haulers in the meeting and they get along, they're sitting beside each other, but when they're at these meetings, they start pitting each other against each other. So you start making addendums to the contract to actually make the contract a better product at the end.
Madam President,
Go ahead.
when you going to start the procedure? You say it takes 6 months?
In total, it'll probably take 6 months. We can probably have it published within a month. The first, the invitation, the RFP, the request for a proposal.
Exactly. And if it's, yeah, if it's
It'll
for a
probably be
conference,
published within a month, then a pre-bid conference.
Right.
Depending on series of workshops, how many workshops we have, we were looking at probably the final product coming to the Commission somewhere between 4 to 6 months from now.
Because we would like to have that information as soon as possible, so we have plenty time to get information about the different companies.
Well, you'll have that, like I'm saying, 4 to 6 months from now.
6 months, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so,
Madam President?
okay, yes, I was gonna wait for us to have the straw.
Yes.
Go ahead,
Okay.
roll call, Madam Clerk.
Straw vote. Commissioner Villanueva?
Yes.
Commissioner Duazo? Commissioner
Yes.
Barreto? President Yanio?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
That would give us an idea which way we're gonna go, correct? Or am I
Correct.
mistaken? Okay.
Correct. Well, what it's doing basically, which was what I was asking, because the straw votes was really, it was not essential, you didn't need it. You know, the reason for having the meeting today was basically to get the tempo of the commission and ask, do we want to go back to county services or do we want to continue with privatizing so we can try to save a little bit of money? Now, we'll go the privatizing route as well as seeing the feasibility of buying equipment and servicing ourselves. The good thing about going through the RFP process is that it's a long process. It gives us time to price out equipment and what it will cost as far as the level of service. So we can do both concurrently.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
You know, just really find out privatizing or
okay.
county. We decided
That's fine.
privatizing, so we will start the RFP process
Okay.
immediately.
No, the mayor already reiterated, I'm looking forward to reading both, to seeing which one is more efficient for our city.
Yeah, before the RFP process will finalize, we will have how much it'll cost if we want to do it in-house. Because that's quicker. I don't think it's going to be as cost-effective, but it'll be quicker. That process will be quicker.
Mario, mira.
Do we have to adjourn?
Comisionada,
Oh, no.
tiene que poner su cartera para recortarlo. Nos hace falta guardar. Y el que son
Yo lo voy a buscar.
Okay, before we finish, anybody has any comments, any commissioner, so we can just dismiss?
I'm good.
Good? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good night. Good night.
Mayor?